LETA presents Let's Unlock Lockdown Tales. Chapter 2 A Dinner Plan. This chapter has been written by Archis, Anvee, Sanvee, Sameeksha, Madhura, Ankita and Ira. Presented by Rashmi Abhisheki. Chapter 2 A Dinner Plan. It was a hot summer Friday afternoon. The children had a holiday for school, as there was a board meeting in their school. Of course, the school had given sufficient homework so as to ensure that the children don't while away their holiday. Ma and Baba had chosen to work from home so that they could be at home with their children. And so Raj and Riya had been in the study since breakfast. But now the heat had begun to antagonize Raj, who was seated on the floor doing his science project. He was sweltering. He could not switch on the fan because that would make his newspaper clippings go helter-skelter. The poor boy had spent the entire morning meticulously cutting from the newspapers news items related to his project. Riya, on the other hand, sat by her desk reading a book. One of those books which had plenty of pictures and only one line to read on each page. Riya seemed to be studying each picture with great delight. Why not? Who would not like to look at pictures? Raj thought as he looked at her reproachfully. He could not decide if he was jealous of her, as her tasks were always easier than his own, or he felt vexed at her inability to do harder things. He ought to have been the younger sibling, thought Raj. How hard it was to be the older sibling. You were expected to behave like a grown-up when you actually felt much younger. Dada, what is the meaning of delicious? Chirped Riya, breaking into his thoughts. She was quite unaware of what was going on in her brother's mind. This question aroused in Raj a sense of self-importance. He looked at his sister, looking up to him with the utmost faith that he would definitely know the meaning of the word. Being the older sibling is not that bad after all, he thought. The jealousy he had felt a minute ago melted away, and he felt a surge of compassion towards those trusting pairs of eyes. Delicious, silly, he said, means tasty. Oh, said Riya. And what is delicious in your storybook? He asked her. Well, my book says a falafel is delicious and a pizza is too, Riya exclaimed, carefully pronouncing the newly learnt word. The names of his favorite dishes tormented the already hungry Raj. He replied, Will you stop it now? I haven't touched a single speck of food for 3 whole hours. I started my day diligently trimming the cardboard according to the stencil for an exact replica of a sleek but sturdy windmill swaying in the air. And later it was those wretched paper clippings. But now I've had enough. My stomach is empty. And Dada, I can hear your stomach rumbling too, squealed Riya. Will you quit goofing around? Shouted Raj. But you asked me what was delicious in my book, didn't you? Protested Riya. So you are the one who is goofing around, not me. But actually, I'm hungry too. I wish we had something stocked up out there, she said, smacking her lips. Hey, wait, cried Raj. Do you remember those jelly-filled naan katais and the tangy lemon preserves we hid in the drawer the other day. What's the time? Ma must be too busy with her work from home right now. Why not indulge in them right away? He pressed. I hope Ma won't mind us stuffing ourselves with these goodies just before lunchtime, exclaimed the worried Riya. But Raj had already opened the drawer, and Riya's conviction melted away with the naan katais that melted in her mouth. After helping themselves to the sumptuous, buttery, jammy naan katais and the palate-cleansing preserve, they sat down again to finish their assignments, feeling more content than ever before. At lunch, Father was in a fine mood, and he had less office work to do, whereas Raj's mind was still solving the never-ending math problems, and Riya was still dreaming about the delicious food items from her storybook. Looking at Raj gobbling up his food, Mother said, What's the rush, Raj? Chew your food properly. Hey, you also look tense. Is something the matter, child? Raj answered, The interminable homework is troubling my mind every second of the day, Ma. Hearing him complain, Dad unexpectedly announced, I promise you an incentive to do your homework, son. If you complete it, you will be rewarded with a dinner at a fine hotel. Hearing this, Riya shouted with excitement, Let's go to awesome Italy! Raj was gently disposed to oppose his little sister. Grabbing a roti, he said, No way! We have been there more than 1,000 times. Moreover, it's a reward for me, and I will decide where to go. But Father said that the reward was for both of them. Raj thought that this was not fair, as Riya hardly had any homework to do. You children have ample time to decide which restaurant to go to. Finish off your homework first. Do hope you remember that is the prerequisite, said Mother. This sentence jolted them back to reality, and their chatter subsided. Although the family was making plans, Mother looked somewhat skeptical. She had been following the news on COVID-19, and the disease, which had seemed to erupt far away, was now menacingly knocking on the doors of all humanity. So Ma wanted to see the news, though Riya was wondering why she was so interested about how many people were apprehended. After all, wasn't all the news almost the same every day? Moreover, the worst thing about news was that it never ended like the other serials on TV. Ma started watching TV while Raj and Riya again started debating over their choice of the restaurant, albeit only in whispers. Raj teased Riya for having the weirdest of taste buds. Riya exclaimed, Raj Dada, don't be such a stuck-up snob. Aji always says, we will cross the bridge when we come to it. So we will decide the restaurant by evening. Just then, Ma shut off the TV with discontent after viewing the news about the spreading virus. She said cheerlessly, Sorry if I sound like a wet blanket, but I really think it would be a good idea to put off our dinner plans. We should consider the COVID-19 situation. Riya was not at all attentive to what Ma was saying. COVID-19 meant nothing to her at that time, and her mind wandered to her wardrobe, and she began thinking about the pretty little dress she would wear to the hotel. She was wondering if she could wear her party frock, which was gorgeous and glittery. Then she asked Raj, "What are you planning to wear for the dinner tonight?" Raj, who hardly cared for clothes, said, "I would wear the first attire I can set my hands upon. But dummy, we might not go out at all." "Why is that? I can help you out with your choice of clothes, Dada." Ria protested. "It's not about clothes, you dumbo. Didn't you hear what Ma just said? You don't seem to be listening half of the times." Baba intervened. "You children concentrate on your homework. We will decide about the dinner plans in the evening." Then he whispered to Ma, "Don't be so apprehensive. It may not be so bad, after all." "But Jay," said Ma, "every time I turn on the television, the news keeps getting worse." "So stop watching the news till evening," said Baba emphatically. Then he turned to the children. "No one watches TV till 6 p.m. You kids will complete your homework by then. At 6, we will check the news and then take a call. So run up to your study and get started." That is exactly what the children did. Breaking the rule he had himself set, which is a common custom with almost all adults, Baba turned on the television an hour before the decided time. When he heard the headlines, his heart skipped a beat, and so did that of Raj, Ria, and Mother. Perhaps each heart had its own reason. The news reporter flashed images of all the different measures to be taken during the pandemic of COVID-19, and it was clear that the disease was no more confined to the nation where it had originated. It had become a worldwide pandemic. The government had announced a lockdown. Next on the news channel came our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji with a speech for his fellow Indian citizens. He made an ardent appeal to all his fellow men to face the grim situation with courage and solidarity. He urged the people to take the necessary precautions in order to contain the disease. As our Prime Minister went on, sincerely trying to boost the morale of citizens, expressing gratitude towards all the people who were risking their lives in order to help others, Raj and Ria stole apprehensive glances at each other, hoping for some divine intervention to retain their dinner plans. But it was obvious that the dinner plans had to be cancelled. It was not for the fear of the stringent measures being taken by the police who were taking action against offenders, but it was the moral responsibility the parents felt towards doing their bit to contain the virus. Raj and Ria were thoroughly disappointed by the news. Ria was actually confused, as both COVID-19 and lockdown meant very little to her. "Ma, Baba, what does lockdown even mean?" she wanted to know. "Oh dear Ria, lockdown means that we will have to stay in our houses till the threat of COVID-19, which is a virus, reduces." "Oh, so who is going to lock us in our house?" asked a perplexed little Ria. Laughed Raj. "Dumbo, Dumbo. No one is going to lock us, but we need to lock ourselves and remain in our houses for safety," explained Father. "Dada, nothing to laugh about, said Ria crossly as she sat sulking on the sofa. Ma, what about our dinner plans? Asked Raj rather courageously. He was not sure he wanted to hear the answer. Sorry to say this. Our plans are cancelled, said Mother with a non-negotiable air. What? But this can't happen, exclaimed Raj. Well, I don't want to eat the same old boring home food, added Ria, agreeing with her brother for a change. Mind your language, Ria. Home food is not boring, and your mother needs to take a lot of effort to make it. We don't have a magic kitchen like Mrs. Weasley, so never say that again, warned Baba in a tone that Ria felt it would be better to apologize before she was told to do so. Sorry, Ma, she wailed, feeling sorrier for herself than about what she had said. Then Raj and Ria threw a tantrum as their dinner plans had been nibbled away by some silly virus. A recuperating silence ensued, during which the parents held their children close. This was very comforting. It gave the children the equanimity to come to terms with the situation. Then Ma and Baba explained to them about the coronavirus and why it was dreaded and how they could protect themselves. When the children had got over their disappointment, it was decided that they would cook food together at home. Mother declared that cooking mouth-watering meals together would now be the new normal. They did a mini research and gathered some recipes. Soon, the ambience was full of excitement and enthusiasm. Raj and Ria were eager to start their work in the kitchen. Mother beamed when Father announced that he would volunteer to do the dishes every night. Finally, they began to work together. Raj grabbed the colander and strained the pasta and some vegetables. Then he moved on to peeling and chopping of some more vegetables. Meanwhile, Mother took a skillet and placed it on the gas stove till it was quite hot. Then she prepared the white sauce by whisking the ingredients together and adding others at specific intervals. Further, Raj added the freshly chopped vegetables and the strained pasta to the sauce. Simultaneously, Ria and Father worked as a team to bake some garlic bread. After the preparation and the garnishing of the dishes, like those in a hotel, they sat down at the dining table, waiting to taste their hard-earned dinner. This was one of the most memorable days of the lockdown. End of chapter 2.